Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm JJ Flazanes, your empowerment strategist and producer. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Today's episode is a case study with Kelly. We did this in the Empowerment Strategist certification last year, towards the end of the year, and we had about half of our trainers, a little less than half of the trainers, who could make this particular case study. So you're going to hear a couple different voices. Everyone's going to introduce themselves on the show during the case study, so I won't repeat that now. And this week's episode is part 1 of 2. Next week is the results show. So all of the advice and coaching and accountability that got created after today's episode, we ended up having a results show, Kelly and I, to go over all her progress, all the things that she had come in with, and all the results after some coaching and implementation. So I hope you enjoy today's episode. I just want to remind you that we are still in a 5-pay payment plan for the Awaken Your Dream Life event in October 14th through 16th. And as of today, we still are donating a portion, about 10% of the ticket price, to Cat Friends. So last week's episode was a fundraising campaign. And if you didn't hear that, if it calls to you, you can get 2 for 1. You can come to the event and I'll donate a portion of your ticket to Cat Friends to help save some lives, some kitten lives, some cat lives, to help them get the surgeries that they need, to get the supplies and the education to the community so we can make a difference in this situation. And I would greatly appreciate either just a donation, whatever you can give. Anything will be helpful. $1 would be helpful, $5, whatever. But of course, most importantly, I'd love to see you at Awaken Your Dream Life. So with that said, consider one or the other and enjoy today's episode. Today, we have a new format of a show. We are recording a case study in the Empowerment Strategist certification program. And for most of you, you've heard on the show, I offered the ability to apply to be a case study. And we are now starting to have those and have them to share with you so that you can hear not only what people are wanting to know more about and you get the benefit of that coaching, but also start to hear some of the coaches and what we've been learning and teaching and working with people on. So today we've got Kelly. And Kelly wrote in, she is from California. I'm going to have her introduce herself. Kelly, let's have you come on and tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, where you're from, and how did you get here?
Hi, everybody. My name is Kelly Reed, and I honestly, I can't remember how I stumbled upon JJ's podcast. I think I was just searching and you came up and I started listening because it Spirit, Purpose, Energy. How could you not want to listen to that? And so I'm a medical assistant. It's very stressful at times. And so I go for a walk on my lunch and I listen to the podcast. And I've had some life-changing events happen over the last 6 years. Divorce, same-sex relationship, that ended. Now I'm really just working hard on me and trying really hard to be who I want to be before I commit myself to anybody else.
Very smart. Very smart. Can I ask how long you've been listening to the show?
Oh gosh, I think probably 3 years.
Okay. All right. This just gives me a frame of reference to what you have been exposed to in my world and in my life, and in terms of these ladies that you're about to meet and everybody who's listening, you're about to hear, because this program didn't exist 3 years ago, didn't exist a year ago. So thanks, Kelly. So I'm going to introduce to everybody who's here. I'm going to first have everybody introduce themselves so that you can know which trainers are with us on today's case study. Let's start with Patty. So Patty, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody where you're from and anything else about you want them to know?
I'm Patty Woods. I live in Tonto Basin, Arizona. I started following JJ because I was really interested in health. And then like Kelly, the Spirit, Purpose, and Energy just drew me in while I was listening to some of JJ's health podcasts and other things. So kind of steered that way. I still enjoy learning about health. Currently reading Dr. Nasha's book, The Metabolic Approach to Cancer, and loving it. And just enjoy helping people, guiding people to be their best selves.
Awesome. Thanks, Patty. Let's go to Emily.
Hello, my name is Emily Horton. I am from Toronto, Canada, and have been listening to JJ for years as well. Like Patty, I enjoy helping people. I am a teacher. a middle school teacher and a yoga teacher sometimes as well. And it's just been such a pleasure being in this empowerment strategist group and learning a bunch of new tools. And I can't wait to help people with them, including you, Kelly. Welcome.
Thanks, Em. All right, Krista.
I'm Krista. I'm from Sonora, California. I'm also one of the empowerment strategists, obviously. I started listening to JJ. I also came across her podcast. I was at a time in my life when I was really struggling with my job and just feeling like something was breaking through. So I was searching for something that was going to help me kind of move forward and break my emotional barrier. And so I was looking for yoga and spirituality podcast and saw JJ's Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. It spoke to me. I binge listened. I loved every minute of it, and I've been growing ever since. And so I, like these ladies here, have always loved helping people, have always kind of inadvertently coached friends and family. And so very drawn to doing that. And I just can't wait to keep expanding. And I've kind of come to realize that I think my passion is going to be for coaching mothers and people going through various different mothering situations, pregnancies, and I was recently also a surrogate.
Awesome. Thanks, Krista. All right, Kelly. So what can we help you with today? What would you like to focus on today's session?
Oh gosh. I think today this is a training, correct? So
yes, but I'm going to play the role of moderator, not
Right.
Trainer. Yes.
Right. I think ultimately I want to have a better understanding of the tools that I personally need for myself to not be my own worst enemy sometimes, because I can definitely have that behavior. A lot of it is because of the relationships that I've been through in the last 6 years and kind of the toll that it took on my family and their impressions of me, and really trying to just learn how to stand on my own 2 feet without needing anyone. And that's really hard, really hard. And so I think I'm doing pretty good. You know, I rent my own place, I pay all my own bills, and I'm a single mom of 3 children, 2 of which are grown up and out of the house, but I still have my youngest with me half the time. And so I want to continue to be the best mom for him while working on me.
Okay. And so we're looking for just tools. Do you want to give us a little bit more on what area of life or what you want these tools to do for you?
I think for me, it's breaking cycles, breaking negative cycles. I have gotten myself into a very negative pattern of coming home after a stressful day of work and drinking and not being a productive person. And I'm not getting to the point where I'm sloppy drunk, but I'm definitely, it's daily, and I don't like that I'm doing that. But I'm coming home to an empty house most of the time, and I'm exhausted after the day, and the medical field right now just is horrible. It sucks. And so that is a negative pattern that I have fallen into. And I was an art major in high school, and that was what I wanted to do for my career. And it ended up not happening. Got married and had babies when I was 19. And so I try to bring art back into my life as a therapy. And it is helpful, but then I find myself pouring a drink while I'm painting. And then that's not productive. So it's I guess just the tools that I need to really be able to take that step back and tell myself, you know, you don't need to have a vice to get through a relaxing evening. You know, you can do something else like paint without the drink, and then yeah, go from there, build from there. I mean, I've gained 40 pounds since all of this started. I'd love to get that off. There's a lot of things that I'm trying to work on, I guess, all at once, and I'm overwhelming myself.
Before I open it up to questions from Patty and Emily and Krista, I just want to ask one more leading question. Are there certain tools that you already use that you didn't feel worked or that you didn't give enough time to? Do you have any, things in your mind that you thought would be really helpful and then tried them wholeheartedly and then didn't? Or are you the kind of person that tries all kinds of tools at the same time, like you said, and get overwhelmed, but you actually don't do one thing or focus? You just try a little bit of all and have like an impatience.
Yeah, it's the impatience. Yeah.
Krista?
All right, so you listened to JJ, so I'm sure you're familiar with the feelings and needs list. And so I wanted to know if there's some feelings on there that are jumping out at you. I think I definitely hear some needs, and I was wondering if you have some feelings that you identify from there, and if you've done the practices with the feelings and needs at all.
I haven't, and I think that is partly because I'm listening to you, JJ, while I'm going for a walk, and so I'm not writing things down. I'm not taking notes, and that maybe that's the first thing I need to change is when I listen to you. Maybe I listen to you on my walk and then go back home and listen again. But I mean, to come back to your question, Krista, I would say that the biggest need for me right now would be to find that tool that I would need to feel more confident in myself. Not I don't know. It's so hard for me to pinpoint it down, which again is part of the, bouncing all around from one thing to another. I just can't focus it in. I mean, I'd love to be able to list everything all at once. I mean, my health, my mental clarity, my emotional well-being. I would say that those are the top three that come to my mind right now.
So I did hear you talk about worthiness, and that's a common theme, I think, with a lot of us in society these days, women especially. And especially after you do have children and you lose a lot of your identity to your children and to your family unit. And so, you talked about the worthiness, so I would, first focus a little bit on that, or a lot on that, in finding ways in which you can make yourself feel worthy, on your own. And so, I noticed you're also a Scorpio. I am as well. And so the wine, I identify also with the having that glass of wine, and us water signs can definitely tend to be a little bit more addictive, have a little bit more addictive personalities. And so when you're feeling unworthy and you're feeling, you've got the extra weight, you've lost your identity, and so you kind of reach for that glass of wine first thing when you get home or a little while. So you could potentially start, in the morning doing little things that make you feel worthy, whether that be journaling or a little bit of stretching and yoga. Start your day in a good, in a good way, do things that make you feel good. And then so are you alone when you come home, you said, most of the time?
Yeah, 50% of the time. Yeah.
Okay.
That I don't have my son. Yeah.
So I wonder if instead of launching right into painting and pouring that glass of wine, what if you did some decompression when you first came home, instead of going straight to painting and that glass of wine? How about a cup of tea and slip into a Epsom salt bath to decompress in that way? And you might be less likely to feel like you need that vice. But I would definitely print out JJ's feelings and needs list and spend some time looking at it and kind of going through all of the feelings. Definitely on the right side, the more negative, mad, tired, confused, scared, and sad list, and looking at it and really spending some time and make a check mark next to each and every one that you identify with, and then and resonate with. And then once you've got that dialed in, kind of then go on to, okay, this is how I'm feeling. So what needs not being met? Spend some time really looking at that, and finding out which needs you feel like you're not getting met. And then the next step then would be, how do I get this need met without asking anybody else to do anything different? How can I do this for myself?
Okay.
I'm just going to interject that it's episode 118 on Fit to Love. And I just put in the chat the link to download the feelings list. So it's jjflazanes.com/feelings list for those of you that are listening. jjflazanes.com/feelings list. That's plural, feelings list. And episode 118, 3 steps to effective communication on the Fit to Love podcast, which you have to go way back. This is way back in the beginning. But anyway, that would be the podcast that would correlate with that list to go a little deeper and to remind you of the things that Krista just mentioned. So thank you, Krista, for that. And let's see, do we have Emily, Patty? Patty looks like okay, Patty.
I was just curious, Kelly, you mentioned extra weight, but you also said health. Are there other health problems that you need to be addressing?
Yes. I have had a little bit of high blood pressure. It's not anything that's off the charts, but I have been taking amlodipine and an antidepressant, escitalopram, to kind of help with the stress at work. I work in a urology department, and we did not shut down during the pandemic, and we actually lost one of our doctors in a plane crash. So we went from a, fully operational clinic to one doctor, and she was covering everything for over a year. And it has been very hard to find new help. And I feel like I'm in nonstop training mode with new MAs and new LVNs. And I'm training the LVNs and RNs, and I'm an MA. And it's like, it's overwhelming because we do procedures that are sterile, and you have to know what you're doing, and it's very intense. And so that's one of the things that's caused my high blood pressure. And then I just recently found out that my gallbladder is functioning at 91% overactive. So it's hypertrophic at 91%. And I have a lot of really painful bloating that is unexplained. It happens for no apparent reason. And I even took a picture of my belly one night to show my doctor the next day because it looked like I was 9 months pregnant, and it hurt. And I have to put a heating pad down or on my stomach. And so, yeah, there are some health things that I'm working with right now.
Okay. And then the weight, has that just happened in did you say the last 6 years?
It's gone back up over the last 6 years. I have had a weight problem my entire life. And I did Jenny Craig with my mom when I was in junior high, and lost a lot of weight and felt really great all through high school. And then when I got married, I had gained a little tiny bit, but nothing really traumatic. And then when I got pregnant with my son, I gained 85 pounds. And so at giving birth, I was 298 pounds. And my body immediately went back to that weight with the other 2 kids. And so I struggled with that. I did a no salt, no fat, no sugar diet for a while, and had success for about 2 months, and then nothing. And so ultimately in 2009, I decided to have weight loss surgery. I did not do the bypass. I did the lap band. But I have had a lot of complications with it. It has never had a fill, because when it does have a fill, I can't swallow anything. It completely closes off my esophagus. And it slipped in 2016, and I had a hiatal hernia, so I had to have it repaired. So that's kind of the extent, and it's all digestive related. I mean, I think that's why I've gotten to where I am now with the gallbladder. I think it was always bad, but now it's really bad.
I was just going to ask if the weight issues that you've had before, is that like, because I think that like the drinking when you get home, which I totally relate to, is that also a comfort thing? Like, is food also a comfort for you?
Well, food is not really my issue with my weight gain right now. I think it's the alcohol, because all day long during the day, like my typical breakfast is a chia seed smoothie, and I use water, chia seeds, almond milk, a little bit of cocoa powder, and a collagen protein powder. And that's my breakfast. And for lunch, I usually get a salad from the salad bar at the hospital. And for dinner, a lot of times when it's just me, I'll have very little to eat, just snack on something if I even have anything. So I'm not taking in an overabundance of calories, but it's not very well balanced, especially when I throw the alcohol in at night.
Krista.
So typically, I mean, everyone's bodies are different, obviously, and calories are not always the issue. Have you ever done a like a food sensitivity reading? And you have, okay, and you're not sensitive to seeds or anything like that? And have you done like a toxicity screening? Because you're saying you eat salad bar at work, but I'm sure it's not organic, and of course,
No.
we can't always eat organic, but your body might actually be reacting to some of the foods. While they may be healthy, your body might not like them. So that can cause a lot of problems. And of course,
Okay.
the lap band surgery, that causes a lot of sensitivities,
Mhm.
you know, in general, you know, your whole biology's been changed now. So, you know, I would definitely suggest talking to possibly a nutritionist, or maybe Dr. Chris would even know. I don't know if he would know anything about that specifically, but or Jeannie Peters, but you might want to reach out to, you know, some people with to find out if there's anything specific to that surgery, and also to any of the sensitivities you might have, or any toxicity that you might have in your body that could help you. And then of course the wine, you know, and yeah, I love my wine. And it's hard not to want to do that all the time, but definitely if you can find a way to flip that to, now I drink tea at night, you know, you're still reaching for a glass of something, and you know, you're still getting that kind of hand to mouth gratification, but with a healthier option. So, you know, I would definitely maybe look into some of that. But did anything come up on your food sensitivity?
No, and it was a little disappointing because I explained to her that it seems to if I did have food sensitivities, it kind of coincides with my menstrual cycle. Like I have zero tolerance for dairy when I'm getting very close to my period, but all I want to eat is cheese. So it's like this horrible, awful, terrible thing. And so I really love brie, and I make a homemade apricot habanero jam, and it's really good on the brie. And I want that when I am right before my period. But then I have an upset stomach, and it causes bloating and excess gas and a lot of discomfort.
Yeah, it's hard. If you could find a substitute, I know nothing beats brie, or we talked about this, I'm a big cheese person myself. And you know, so, but you know, like JJ had said, when she loves cheese also, and when she first decided to cut the dairy, it's all about making those shifts and finding a substitute, something you can still use your habanero mango, you know, jam or spread with, that would still be really satisfying, but that's not going to give you that trigger. So, you know, the little steps of trying to find ways in which you can shift what you're doing, one habit at a time. It doesn't have to be everything at once,
Right.
you know, but one little habit at a time to shift that and see how you feel. And have you tried an elimination diet before?
I have, and a lot of the switching in types of food and increasing in like spinach and things like that causes a lot of intestinal bloating for me as well. So it's not just broccoli and your typical gassy vegetables that cause a problem for me. It's kind of like everything.
I want to see if Emily has anything to say.
Yeah, I mean, some of my questions have already been asked, but you had mentioned feeling overwhelmed by all of the changes you feel you have to make. And I do believe that it will probably take a little bit of time to find the routine that works best for you.
Mhm.
But I do think that just a couple of changes here and there will eventually change the rest of it. It'll build your confidence if you can stick to one or two things that you know are in your best interest, health-wise,
Right.
emotionally, in terms of your relaxation when you get home from work. I was going to ask what other activities, other than painting and going for walks, what else do you use as a relaxing after work type activity?
I do have chickens in my backyard, and I love taking care of them. So I'll go out and take care of my chickens, and I have a dog. So play with her. Definitely, she is the first thing that wants my attention when I walk through the door. So I definitely have her, and I have the chickens. And that's a good routine. When I get home, I put the dog outside to potty and check on my chickens and collect eggs. And so it's the next step in my routine that that needs to be modified.
Great. And it sounds like you already know some of the changes that if you made would be best for you. You
Mhm.
even mentioned making a couple of changes and starting from there and knowing that things would kind of snowball in your, like, to your benefit.
Mhm.
I wonder, in terms of habit creation, once you've really decided what would be best for you, let's say it was getting home and painting right away, perhaps having your easel and your paint supplies set up in a corner and ready to go,
Right.
or the dog's leash right hanging by the door. If you set little things up that you knew would help with the habit creation, I
Mhm.
think that might be helpful for you. Um, it's very easy once you get into a routine to walk immediately without your brain even turning on, right? You walk toward whatever you always do.
The
So
automatic.
yeah, it is automatic,
Yeah.
but you can change the automaticity, if that's a word, of it by placing things in the right spot and allowing yourself to, instead of your mind turned off going right toward thing A, you walk in the door and you see the cue that reminds you, okay, well, instead I'm going to go for a walk and listen to a podcast or go check on the chickens. Can you eat their eggs? How do they
Oh
make
yeah.
you feel?
Oh
Yeah?
yeah. It's awesome. I love it. I love raising something with love and respect that provides for me and my family.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah, that's
awesome.
amazing. Great. The last question I had, are you familiar with what your love language is? Or
No,
maybe you have more than one?
I would imagine I have more than one, but I have no idea.
I would recommend looking into what you think your love language is.
Okay.
Quality time, words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, things like that. And when you know, uh, start giving yourself those things. If it's acts of service, then you do something that's important for yourself every day and build that self-love and self-confidence in the process. And if it's
Okay.
words of affirmation, maybe you give yourself affirmations, tell yourself positive things. Maybe you have a routine of looking in the mirror and telling yourself you love yourself, stuff like that. I think that would be very beneficial for you to give yourself daily loving reminders of how amazing you are.
All right. Thank you.
Hold on one second, Krista. Let me go to Patty first. Just want to get Patty in here.
Great. Because I also was thinking about what Emily said with the automatic. I think the first place that starts with the drinking is not having it at home. Like,
Yeah.
don't buy it. Put that money towards something else that is like a reward to you, even if it's set aside, because it is a lot of money and it could buy you something really nice that you could
Oh,
treat
yeah.
yourself to. But just for me, if I can avoid it at the grocery store, then it's not a problem. And it's easier to set up that at home habit where you come home and maybe you listen to JJ during the day for your walk because that's obviously working for you, but you
Mhm.
pick something else like the Insight Timer app and listen to a meditation, and then you're ready to paint. Maybe it might even inspire something for you to I said paint, and I don't know what kind of art, but to do the art. So I just think that that would be a good way to go about it. The other thing I would say is that I've had experience with eating salads every day and feeling like that was the best thing for me. But I think I might have had like leaky gut or candida that I ended up doing a cleanse for that was like 3 months, but it was making me so bloated, and I was so frustrated because I felt like I was doing such a good job of eating healthy. But sometimes you need to build that system back up by doing like a keto or something,
Okay.
and then work back into being able to eat those things.
Okay.
I know I helped myself a lot by stopping the salads, because your body, if it has any kind of problem, lettuce is really hard for it to break down, and you'll get bloating.
Okay. I have actually just recently started a keto plan, and I have probably in the last week and a half is how long I've been on it, and I've lost about 4 pounds, which isn't a lot, but
Awesome.
I'd say
It
it's
is though.
something is better than nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say it's great. And you need to give yourself that credit too, because you're discounting it already, and it's awesome and it's working.
Yeah.
Okay, Krista.
So a few things. First, as far as losing the weight, that's great. Congratulations. But I wanted to bring it back to focusing maybe a little bit less on the number on the scale and more on how you feel and how you fit in your clothes. If you're feeling more comfortable in your clothes, if you're feeling better about yourself, if your body just feels healthier and lighter, then that's a lot more important than the number on the scale. Definitely. Because I think we all get kind of into that trap of, oh, did I lose a pound? Did I lose a couple pounds? But, you know, as women, our weight can fluctuate so much just throughout a day.
Right.
So it's important to just focus on how you're feeling and the health of your body. And so I don't know if you've read JJ's Invisible Fitness Formula, but there's a big focus on just on how you are feeling and the health of your own body in that. So I definitely recommend that as a read if you have time to read. And then what I was going to say, as far as the love languages, I was going to tap on that also, like Emily did. If your love language is quality time, for example, and you say you're coming home to an empty house a lot, that also might trigger that need for the alcohol, because it's almost like it's keeping you company. So if you do find out what your love language is, but even if it's not quality time, if you're feeling lonely and you need that connection, then there are definitely ways you can reach out for that connection without being in a relationship. So like where you might be looking for somebody to watch movies with or go out on dates with, or, you know, to make you feel good in that way. If you can find some really close friends that would be willing to go do some of that kind of stuff with, or take yourself out to a movie, or find ways in which you can make yourself feel good and worthy and connected in the way that you would hope a partner would do for you, so that you don't feel like you need it anymore and you're not feeling that loneliness. And that maybe will help that trigger of feeling like you kind of want to numb a little bit. And then also, as far as, you know what, Patty, that's a great idea with just not buying the alcohol, but you also want to focus on that addiction. And, you know, just like the wine or the cheese, even, you know, you think of the hard addictions and then the soft addictions. So you kind of want to get to the bottom of the emotional triggers that are causing the addictions in general. And that will help eliminate that a little more than other, you know, just saying, oh, I'm not going to have it in the house. What typically happens to a lot of people, if there's an emotional reason for that addiction, which there almost always is they might not have it in the house for a while, and you might be able to abstain for a little bit. But if you're not addressing the deeper emotional reason for the addiction, you're going to find yourself getting it and binging on it, and maybe, you know, drinking to the point of making yourself sick, or, you know, being on a bender where you're drinking every night heavily for a while after that. So, you know, that's a great idea, but also to kind of focus on what's beneath the surface, what, you know, you want to uncover a little bit of what might be causing those feelings that are making you want to drink.
And that's kind of why I'm doing the trip that I'm doing right now. I have never done anything all by myself in my life, like, you know, adventurous. Like, yeah, I'm living on my own and paying all my bills, but that's not exciting. So a couple weekends ago, I went on a solo trip to Bodega Bay because my grandfather had passed away and that was his favorite place. And so I rented a little Airbnb right on the beach and I took his ashes with me and I spent 2 days with him in Bodega Bay. And I drove him everywhere with me and walked along the beach with him and had morning coffee as the sun came up. And now this trip I'm doing by myself as well. So I drove all the way out here at the opposition of many of my family members. You can't do that. That's not safe. All of those things in my ear. And I just told them, I'm going to be fine, guys. Relax. If it's my time, it's my time, but I don't think it is. So I'm going to come home. But this has been big for me. I mean, this has been really, the small trip to Bodega Bay was huge. And now this one is even bigger. So I'm hoping, I know that this is a step in the right direction for me to get these things started for myself.
Emily?
I just want to say congratulations for taking yourself on a couple of solo trips. I know how huge that is and how empowering and important it is to get out and have a change of scenery and to feel good about yourself by yourself in a new place. I think that's amazing. And I would hope that you would continue that kind of thing when you get back home.
Yeah.
You can do it in smaller ways, in more local ways as well, taking yourself out on solo dates. There's a book, I forget the title, but it's How to Develop Your Creativity. And it talks about artists' dates where you take yourself out to different like art galleries or museums or paint night or what have you.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really great for you. You seem like a very creative person who enjoys the arts.
Definitely.
It'd be great for you to go out for dinner and, even a night at a hotel or something in your hometown, but kind of shake it up and make it exciting for yourself and by yourself. I think that would be very empowering.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm over here looking at episodes. So I'm going to give you a bunch of episodes on Fit to Love. I gave you 118, and it's only because some of the episodes I'm looking for only live there. And so I didn't want to bounce back and forth. So I already told you episode 118 is the 3 steps to effective communication. That's about the needs and feelings, which I'm going to talk about in a second.
Okay.
Episode 18, again, we're going way back. Episode 18 is the 5 love languages.
Oh, okay. I've listened to that way back when.
Okay. So it's good to revisit it.
Okay.
I think you listen to episode 18 and then go to the number 5, lovelanguages.com and take the quiz.
Oh, okay.
Then listen to episode 482, which is the shadow side of love languages.
Okay.
Okay. Now that's all in the love language conversation. I'm going to get, but I want to go back because now I'm going to come in and everyone here is very nice. And they're all of their love languages are words of affirmation. So they're all about making sure that they acknowledge what you're doing well. Mm-hmm. And as you know me, I'm the one who's got the sword with a smile and the big heart. I'm going to pierce through the shit. And I'm going to tell you something that's going to be hard for you to hear. Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. So everything you've been doing is about repression. You are highly, 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 highly repressed. There is some pain you have. Some emotional pain, deep emotional pain from your parents, from your past relationship. There's a pattern that keeps going that has nothing to do with food, has nothing to do with exercise, has nothing to do with any of the things except that all of the discomfort that you feel, all of these, the wine, the food, all of it, the lap band, it's all a repression of a lack of creativity because you're not doing what you want to be doing. You said that in the very beginning. You said you went to art, you were an art major and you're working in the medical system. I don't know anything that could be more 180. So right now you've entered into an area of life to make money, to pay the bills, and you've cut off your creative essence and who you are completely. And so now you're trying to find joy in a cage that you don't want to be in and make the best of it. And how you're doing that is through repressing your feelings, through alcohol, through denial, right? You have leaky gut. So that's first off, and who she would work with, Krista, could be me to start with. I think there's some things we can do before entering in Dr. Chris or Jeannie, because whether she has a food sensitivity or not, you have leaky gut. And it's apparent because of how many drugs you've been taking for all the different things you've been taking, plus the gallbladder surgery, which, by the way, was a way to tackle a problem on the surface level, but the depth of why it started in the first place has not been addressed. And
I haven't had that surgery yet. This was just a recent diagnosis, so I have not had it removed. I just had a HIDA scan.
Okay. So, even just getting it to lose weight is a quick fix for a deeper problem that's never going to be fixed with the top level surface stuff. You're not going to fix low self-esteem and repressing emotions actively through food and alcohol with a lap band. It's just not going to, it's like putting cuffs on you or trying to put something across your mouth to have you not speak, but you still feel the feelings, even though you can't express them. Right. So my question to you is, are you currently working with a coach or a therapist on a regular basis?
I am not.
Why?
Cost is a big part of it. I have very little money at the end of the month, which, I mean, if I cut out the alcohol, I'd probably have an extra $300 a month. I'm just a guess. And then, some of the crummier foods that I tend to buy, the brie, and, go to the fancy store and buy all that stuff. Yeah, I could definitely cut $500 or $600 out of my budget, but insurance won't pay for your guys' services. I have a friend who I've known since kindergarten, who was on an acne medication in high school, and she drank, and she ended up having her lung transplant, kidney transplant, liver transplant. Like, she doesn't have any of her own organs anymore, and she recently became a coach, and I talked with her in depth, and she was really great. And she said it would be $3,000 for 3 months of coaching with her. And it's like, okay, well, let me think about how I might be able to come up with that, because I would love that. And she knows me on a more intimate level because we've known each other since we were 5 years old, which I guess could be a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, I think that definitely, could be a good thing and a bad thing. But I was appreciative of her to at least allow to have for the conversation with me, which was really wonderful. And that's kind of how I came to be doing this trip, was because I was a little on the fence about it, and I just decided I needed to do it. But yeah, I would love to work with a coach and eventually, become one, or, help other people who have struggled with the same things that I've struggled with.
So I did a show a year ago, and I don't know the number because I don't have time to keep looking up all the numbers, even though I just did a spreadsheet for everybody. It's called How Can I?
Okay.
And if you haven't heard it, I would recommend that you listen to it, because when we lead with I can't, then your brain does not try to find possibility. And you have to start with how can I, not with how I can't. Right. I can't, I don't have the money, I don't have the time. Then you are literally, and you don't have any Capricorn in your, not that I'm picking on your Capricorns, although you do have a Virgo rising. When you lead with lack of possibility, you don't give yourself any solutions, and you don't give yourself room to even manifest it, because you're not looking for it, because you've already decided. Mm-hmm. And so I would recommend that what every single person said, Patty, Krista, and Emily, all the things that you can start doing right now, which is what they were addressing. What can you do right now? And I agree with everything everybody said. Do all the things that you can do right now, and balance manifesting. How can I, whether it be cutting out some things over here, or looking at your finances in a different way, or being able to, find somebody on insurance, find somebody that would be good. And I don't know how to tell you to do that, because, but it's a place to start when you ask yourself, well, how can I? And you just start with, so the introductory package, my two session starter pack is like $500. So it's not and in terms of looking at, and the same thing when we move into that we're, that all the coaches are taking on clients. When we get to that level, it won't be, maybe a little bit less, and my fees might go up, but it's in that same, and that's just for 2 sessions, but there's a lot that can get done when you're, starting with just 2 sessions in terms of homework in between and courses and podcasts and downloads. And there's a lot of free stuff on the show that I would recommend that you consume. But the good and the bad news is that without addressing your core wounds, without knowing what you're running from, without learning how to be present in your pain. So that was another episode that I looked up. It's episode 460 on Fit to Love. It's called Be Present in Your Pain, being present in your pain, because you're running from yours. So no amount of, Band-Aids on top of that and making it look pretty and painting it pink and putting sparkles on it is going to get rid of the fact that you aren't doing what you want to be doing in life. And you're sort of waiting for the permission to do something about that or feel like you're in a safe environment. But that without creating it, like you're waiting for someone, like you feel like a victim to your circumstance when you don't have to. And, a lot of the shows are about law of attraction, about taking your power back, about empowering yourself, and about not being a victim to your circumstance and deciding and vibrating at a level. But that means you have to be present with your feelings. And in order to express and to get positive, you also have to deal with all the repressing of the negative. And so we can't have one without the other. We have to express the negative to allow the positive to have room for it. Otherwise, we're so busy pushing down the negative that we don't feel like we can be positive, because the truth is we have all these negative feelings that we're running from, or eating or drinking or ignoring or whatever, or overworking or telling stories to keep us stuck in that place. Right. So again, when you feel physically better, this will be easier to do. So definitely addressing all the things everybody talked about reducing the drinking and staying away from certain foods. And I'd recommend you listen to the show I did with Dr. Mindy Pell's Diet Variations and Fasting for Hormones, or Fasting for Weight Loss. Anyway, and I would recommend you do a bunch of fasts and you start, starting to really look at repairing your leaky gut so that you just start eliminating food, period. So that includes alcohol. Because when you do a fast, you're not eating or drinking anything. So starting with a 24-hour fast and working way up to a 48-hour fast and working way up to, or you could contact Jeannie to do a Prolon, a 5-day fasting mimicking diet. That runs about $200. It gives you all the food for 5 days, and it could be a great reset for your gut after I would still recommend doing a water fast for at least 48 hours first, and possibly a bone broth for another 48 hours, and then doing the Prolon. But sometimes it could take, Dr. Chris and I talked about, sometimes it can take a patient up to, and we're talking cancer patients, up to a year to fix their gut issues. So this isn't a short process, but it's a step in the right direction to start to heal that. So looking at that, all the physical and food and things, the way you talk to yourself, the stories you tell, that will help you feel better and give you a little bit of energy to tackle, because we have to have balance. You have to be able to know that you have the muscles available to feel good and to create good feelings. You need to be able to know you got to click into that, because then when you have, that's why people run from their negative feelings, because they feel like they're going to get sucked in and they're going to be overwhelmed and they're going to break and they're going to die. Right. And it's like, no, it's just going to be like a storm, and it's going to rain for a while, and then it's going to pass and the sun's going to come out, and then you're going to feel better again. And your core can float when that all happens, when you let it out. But I think finding a way to do, I think that to me sticks out as the number one most important thing, especially as a Scorpio and the rest of your chart that I have in front of me. Is for you to really deal with your emotions. Number one, like what Krista was talking about at the beginning, the feelings and needs list. And she wasn't going to go like launching into teaching the whole thing, but that's why I recommended the podcast. It's a 3-step process. How do I feel on a daily basis? I would print out 7 sheets. I would do the exercise every day for 7 days, have a new sheet, date the sheet, start with the feelings. What are my feelings? Circle the feelings, the 3 or 5 feelings that come up very quickly for you. Then you're going to look at step 2. What is a need that's not being met that's creating this feeling? And go down and identify what you think the needs are. Now, the story in your head's going to go like this. It's going to say, well, I'm not getting my need met because so-and-so or they or them or he or her or isn't doing something. Okay. And you're going to flip that switch. You're going to flip that mirror right around and say, well, whatever I want from you is something I'm not doing to myself. I'm not giving to myself. So how can I get that met? And create a couple different ways, and it can involve other people. You can say, hey, I'm needing connection. I'm needing quality time with a human. Hey, friend, Do you have any time for me in the next month that we can get together? Hey, other friend, do you have time for me in the next month that we can get together, or whatever, or ask for what you need if it's words. And I gave you all the different love language in the podcast to listen to kind of get more of that. And then, and then when you start checking in with yourself and have a way to also work through and talk with somebody about both, I would straddle both the tools of looking at the core wounds with how am I processing and interpreting what's happening in my life right now. Both have value. When you go too deep into just what happened when I was 5, then if we don't get there quickly with the core wound, we're just digging up uncomfortable shit nobody wants to feel. Right. So if you can quickly get to that, and a resource for that would be Getting the Love You Want. It's the Imago Therapy from Harville Hendricks. That's episode 91 on spirit, purpose, and energy. I would revisit episode 91 on spirit, purpose, and energy, because that will help you identify some of those without working with anybody, just listening to the show and maybe taking some notes. Or when you're listening to the podcast and you want to stop, maybe you can do a voice recorder notes system or something, and you could take a note and say, hey, make sure to look this up when I get home. And then, and then you've made a note that you need to go back to do X, Y, and Z thing. Buy this book, check out this link, sign up for this free webinar or whatever. So we're going to so whether you work with us, me, or a therapist or somebody, again, I just would recommend the balance of, you got to find your core wounds because you drag them through your entire life, and everything you do is based on that. And you're not going to fix it until you know what they are. So you know what you're fixing, in my opinion. And also with your current interpretation, because when you look out at the world and you continue to tell the same story about whatever's going on, you're going to continue to reactivate this belief system that you keep perpetuating. So again, to stop these patterns, that's what you said, you wanted to break these cycles. You have to do different things. You have to do whatever scares you. You have to spend money when you don't think you have it. You have to ask for help when you don't think you deserve it or want it. It's about doing the opposite thing you've always done. And that's a pretty simple way to look at, how do I break a pattern? Well, what's the pattern? Well, I always do this. Well, then do the opposite, or do something extreme. And I'm not going to say, so in terms of Patty was saying about the drinking, like, okay, so, and everybody was giving you tools, Emily and Krista, about like, what could you replace it with? You could replace it with tea. Okay. But when the urge comes up, that's the moment that you say, what's really going on for me? And how do I, instead of repress it, express it? And even if it's to your cat, and then that's your cat or your dog or your empty room or your backyard or your bathroom, how do I express it? Because your thing is to repress it. So, so you need a healthy outlet of where to express your feelings, to feel lighter, to feel relief. You're looking for relief. You drink to look for relief. You paint to look for relief. Whatever we're doing, we're all looking for relief.
Right.
And I want you to find relief in the expression of the things that you're trying to control, which cause you to reach for things that keep you in a spiral and in a negative momentum. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to now, Krista.
I just was going to make a couple suggestions. So I think you had said one of the big things for you is just feeling like you're not expressing your creativity, and what JJ tapped on. So I was going to make a suggestion that just to put a little bit more creativity into your life, because everything we talked about is going to be a long haul solution, things that you need to slowly do over time. Something that could help you in the short term is to try to start and end your day with a little bit of creativity, spirituality, and movement. So if you're feeling like your body's not moving, if you're feeling like you're not doing a lot of the things that you wanted to do, what's something that you could do in the morning that's going to get your creative juices flowing to send you out into your day feeling better, feeling like you got that creativity going, and little ways in which you could try to incorporate a little bit of creativity throughout your day also. But as long as you're doing a little bit in the morning, like start and end your day with some creativity, start and end your day with some spirituality, some meditation, some journaling, in which you can feel like you're getting connected, and that you're feeling like you're really, getting into flow. And then maybe some movement, whether it's yoga or, a little, getting your blood pumping on a walk, or if you've got and some kind of exercise machine, but really kind of doing that first thing in the morning. And then at the end of the day, after you get home, you'll find is going to kind of just make you feel better and make you feel more like you want to do those things like the diet, because it's going to contribute to continuing to maintain that good feeling coming from something better than wine, a more sustainable, a better good feeling. But yeah, so any way in which you can incorporate that into your life more and more, a little at a time. If you're talking about, if painting would be your zone of genius, or if art would be your zone of genius, I don't know, are you familiar with the zone of genius or the big leap at all?
A little bit.
A little bit. Well, so if the idea behind it being that, what is your passion, something that you came into this world to do, which sounds like to me is art for you. That's what you wanted to do. That's where you come alive. So you want to put that more and more into your life as much as you can, do a little bit more here and there until you're doing more and more of that to make yourself feel better. So, but anyways, as long as you can do a little bit of that each day, you're going to go out into the world feeling better because you started your day in a really positive way. You're going to work feeling really good. You feel like you've done some stuff that makes you feel full of life and joy. And then you can end your day with that as well.
Definitely.
Emily.
And just in that same vein, maybe using your art to express your emotions. I don't know. Are you a painter, or have we just assumed that that's your art form?
What I really love to do is metal etching, and I can't do it, so I try to find other forms of printmaking. I do screen printing and block printing, oil pastels, charcoal pencil. I like to get my hands messy when I do art. So yeah, but printmaking, I think there's actually a studio in Grass Valley that you can rent that has an etching press. So I should take a trip up there, and I have plates. I have plenty of plates that are already filled with beautiful artwork. I just need to print them.
Excellent. Yeah, I do think that, and maybe you do need to cut out some of your other stuff in order to make that a priority. But I think that through your creative medium, you could probably express a lot of your emotion and get kind of both of those things done in the same way and be able to feel good while also allowing yourself to feel those deeper emotions, but do it in a way that makes you feel creative and alive. I think that'd be great.
And I would also add some music to that, right? So let music fuel your emotion. If you can't find your pain, then use some music that brings it out. Use something to cry, use something to scream, right? If you know you're angry or upset, then listen to some really yelly, screamy music. Yeah, to get it out, and punch some things, exercise, break some things safely. Use a bat with a pillow and punch the crap out of a pillow with a plastic bat. So definitely use the music, use the art to help with the expression. You don't need to understand what it is yet. You just need to get it out.
Okay.
Krista.
So you were saying you can't do the metal etching around there. Have you looked into if there's anything more local that you could do? I mean,
Grass Valley's not too far. I mean, I'd probably spend the night up there if I was going to do it, just so I didn't have to be in a rush. Grass Valley's probably about an hour and a half away from Woodland.
I just meant something that you could do more on a regular basis. If you could find something more local that you could feel like you could do more often, so it wasn't such a special treat for you. Is there a way you could look into, maybe there's not a metal etching studio, but maybe there are places that have the equipment, or, something, I don't know, or something that you could get at home that has the same feeling out of that, but that's not exactly that. So you're getting that, like digging into wood or something. Is there something you could look into to have access to that more often?
Definitely. I actually have a very small screen printing press, and I screen print flour sack towels. I have about 10 designs. And I used to sell them to local retailers, but a lot of those businesses ended up closing down. And with the various shifts in my life, it kind of got pushed to the back burner. And I have everything I need. I just need to get some new ink and some towels.
So Patty, any last words for Kelly before we wrap up today's coaching session?
I was laughing because I was thinking, well, I'd want to buy those. I want to see those. Have you thought about switching your career?
I would love to, yes. And it scares me, JJ. I know that's one of the things that it is very difficult to get past. I mean, just the towels would not pay the bills. Not initially anyways. I'd still have to be working and build the business, which, you know, I'm sure I could with the 5,000 other people that are on Etsy doing the same damn thing. Um, but I'm sure I could do something and incorporate some of my other artwork. I do something really beautiful, which I haven't done in a long time. My ex-husband was a fisherman, and it's called gyutaku, and it's an ancient Japanese form of taxidermy. And so you take the real fish and you clean it, you try to get all that slimy, yucky stuff off, and then you paint the fish very, very carefully and lay mulberry paper or rice paper or silk or muslin, and you get this amazing impression of the fish. And you can still eat the fish, you know, you don't have to toss it when you're done. And I did halibut, crab, rockfish, surf perch, largemouth bass, stripers, you name it, I've printed it. And that's a lot of fun too. And I've actually thought about just driving over to Bodega Bay one day when all the fishermen are coming back in from their trips and be like, hey, can I print one of your fish? And show them an example and see if one of them bites. No pun intended.
Or pun intended.
No pun intended.
That sounds awesome. And
Yeah, it's really
I guess I
beautiful.
would encourage you to dream about that more, because you light up when you talk about it, and it sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say your whole energy shifted when you started talking about that. You started smiling, you got lighter, like you're the air around you, like everything just looked like it lit up and like you relaxed. And so I would agree, like you can do that more. That would be amazing.
Definitely.
Episode 111 on spirit, purpose, and energy is abundance and intuition. Please listen to it. Mae McCarthy, listen to it several times. And also, again, to how can I'd even say last year with Melanie Benson, stretching yourself into new results, and how to feel better right now. That's another solo show. But the point is that you will make happen and you will attract what you need to for the things you're dedicated to. So every day ask yourself, what am I committed to? And if you're committed to having a better life, then you tune yourself to the possibilities of how to make that happen and what the universe wants to show you a way and a path. But if we decide that it can't happen, that's exactly what you're going to get. So,
and that's what I was always told by my family members. Oh, you can't make a career out of that. You won't be successful doing that. You can't do art for a living. Yeah.
The largest, I read this today, the largest weight you'll lose is someone else's opinions. So you want quick weight loss? Stop listening to everybody else, because I'm a living example of all the things people told me that I shouldn't, couldn't, and wasn't qualified to do. I just got connected to Jan Spiller's astrology. I mean, I already have been, but they're going to start selling my astrology course. All right. How long have I said I'm not an astrologer? I stand behind, this is how I use astrology. And I have literally an amazing astrologer and company now going to sell my astrology course. And I'm not an astrologer. So talk about like not qualified by standard, protocols. And now I've got the backing and the stamp of approval from a major astrological genius and company. So
I listened to that podcast twice.
Okay, awesome. Well, I also think that, as the girls were saying with you lighting up, I see your fish. I totally see when you have a specialty like that, people pay a large amount of money for things like that. And you could totally, I've got all the business ideas flowing in my head right now. So anyway, the point is that there's a ton of possibility. And I think that when you open yourself up to receiving that, you will get what you're looking for. We have to change what you're looking for, right? So when it's a top level surface thing, we are not going deep enough. And that is not the answer. All of this crap on top, the eating, the drinking, all the antidepressants, this is all masking a deeper issue. And as long as you get down to the bottom and root that out, gut that out, life's going to shift for you in big, fast ways.
Yeah. when I started the keto diet about a week ago, I quit taking my amlodipine and my escitalopram.
Beautiful. Good. Well, I'm, and again, I'm not a doctor, so I can't
No,
say that.
I didn't ask them if it was okay. I just stopped.
Yeah. And you have to trust, I mean, I'm tomorrow as the recording of this episode, I am interviewing Dr. William Davis tomorrow on Doctored. And I'm like foaming at the mouth. I'm so excited about tomorrow's conversation because I've been saying some of this, not that I come up with the same data he has, of course, and I'm not a doctor, but I've been saying this shit for 20 years.
Right.
So to hear a doctor, be talking, and this book isn't new, I'm just new to it. So to hear on Doctored, I'm so excited. So, and I know you work in the medical system, but thank you again, Kelly, for putting yourself out there in a vulnerable way for everyone to learn from, to give us an ability to start working the tools. We appreciate that you were able to do this. And thank you so much for being here. Any last words that you have for us and anybody listening?
Oh my God. Thank you guys. I was so ecstatic when I got the email from you, JJ. I kind of was like, am I being spammed? Is this even real? I would say to anyone out there listening, keep listening to JJ's podcast because they have done a lot for me, even though maybe I haven't put them into action yet, but here I am. I'm here, and I wouldn't be here on this podcast right now if it weren't for me listening to JJ.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly.